Hello, and welcome back to Therapist Plays Disco Elysium. On today's episode, we're going into the church to follow up on some things that we've been asked to do by our friends in the tent on the ice, and to meet this mysterious crab man. Definitely one of the more interesting characters that we've met so far, and gives us a nice point to reflect on how people tend to make sense and meaning of the world around them, especially in a world like this, where something like the Pale has the potential to remove or obscure some of your own memories or experiences. And how does that actually parallel what we experience in the world when our own perceptions or our own memories may be impacted by certain classifications of mental health diagnoses? So it's an interesting discussion. I hope you enjoy. So let's get into it. All right, let's continue here. So, okay, I'm gonna add some meta-textual stuff to the narrative here because, like, there's some things that the game is not gonna let us cover in our conversation with Kim, like what we've been up to in the interim since he was not with us. So I'm going to cover that. Okay, Kim. You may be wondering why I look like shit and my health is so low and my morale is so beaten down. He didn't actually have any commentary about the phone call, so I'm just kind of filling in. Look, Kim, that was a tough conversation. I guess we don't know why. I kind of had the, I guess, like, interpretation that because we as the player picked up on a lot of stuff about Harry's past, that this would transfer to him, but I guess that's not always the case. So, in the conversation with the ex-wife, we don't really know who that was, let's say, from Harry's perspective. He has no idea why he feels so bad. He just knows that maybe he has some trauma related to this. Perhaps we can now infer, look, I gotta give Harry some credit and say, like, okay, maybe you don't know who that person was, but clearly they knew you, and clearly you upset them, and clearly you are upset. Maybe you don't know why. I think by this point he could say to himself, all right, well, clearly that person doesn't want anything to do with me. The best thing we can do is just leave her alone. From the therapist's perspective, like I said, the unfinished business, this would mean, yeah, part of the therapeutic conclusion would be like, look, maybe you don't require closure from this person because they set a firm boundary with you, which is to, like, let them be. So we're going to do that. We're going to let them do that. But I imagine what I would say to Kim in this context would be, Kim, I don't know why I feel so bad, but my heart is in pieces right now, and I need something to distract me from this feeling. Let's bury ourselves into work. Let's get back to the case. And he would say, okay, I got you, Harry. With slightly less enthusiasm, as Kim does. He'd say, okay, have it your way. What would you like to do next? And I would say, well, let me get you up to speed on what we're doing for the case here. Okay, so I met these kids. I met these kids on the ice, and they're techno kids, and I tried to save a young girl's passion for music by giving her a hat. I gave her my Dick Mullen hat, and now we gotta investigate this church, which the kid says there's shadow people inside. And their shadow people need to be cleared out so that the kids can have a venue to continue their creative passions. And I'm sure that at that point, Kim would say, wonderful. I'm glad we are spending so much time on things that really matter for this case, in his sarcastic way. I'd say, you're goddamn right, Kim. This is what really matters. At the same time as he would be mildly dismissive of this plot, he would also go with it because that's just what Kim does. That's the kind of friend and compatriot Kim is. He will make it known that leaving us in charge is irresponsible for both him and us, but at the same time, he'll indulge. So, look, Kim, I need to disconnect from my emotions for a while, and I don't want to use drugs to do that. What I want to do is find a way to save someone else's life because I don't know how to save my own. So that's what we're going to do. Let's check out what's in this church.
Heavy wooden doors, more than twice your height, stand shut in front of you. The rectangular sea-worn ornamentation appears in stark contrast to the padlock, carelessly drilled into the wood.
Let's inspect that carpentry before we check this padlock.
The carving on the door is block-like and angular, like the church itself. 2 large beams shoot downwards, sinking into the wood before they reach the threshold.
Let's get a hand on that beam.
The surface is smooth from the wind, but moist to the touch.
Okay, let's take a look at that padlock.
This cheap-looking padlock is sturdily built. It shackles together a hasp and a staple screwed into the wooden door. The lock is adorned with a yellow sticker.
Okay.
It'll be easier to break the staple than the lock. Also, that sticker is interesting, somehow.
Let's check out that sticker.
You see a yellow circle with 2 X's and a big curve below them that looks like a mouth. You're pretty sure you haven't seen it before, but what the symbol depicts is clear enough. A smiling dead guy. The curve makes it smile, and the X's make it dead.
That's some astute detective work there, Harry. Let's ask him what he thinks. Point to it. Have you seen this symbol before? Okay, I had to cut a little bit for some reason. My game crashed, but I'm going to ask him to take a look at this padlock, or the symbol.
He takes off his glasses and uses a blue handkerchief to thoroughly wipe them clean before inspecting the sticker. Then he looks up, pauses, and replies,
No.
Thank you, Kim. What does it look like to you?
Looks like a dead man smiling. Suggests junior delinquency.
Okay. What's junior delinquency?
For Revachol aussi, the moral intern defined junior delinquents as minors between the ages of 10 and 16 who have committed an act in violation of the law.
Oh, okay. It's like a real thing.
These acts aren't called crimes as they would be for adults. Crimes committed by minors are called delinquent acts. This was part of your officer's exams.
He puts the handkerchief in his coat pockets. So we should know this as part of our officer exams. Okay, what's suggestive of this delinquency?
I haven't seen that sticker before, and I'm not a youth.
Dig deep, Kim. Access your inner child here.
thus it must be made by youths.
Brilliant. My logic is logic has nearly it has superseded my main stat recently. I feel like we're finally coming into our own as a legitimate detective. Yeah, our interfacing is not bad either. Ooh, okay, this should be an easy one, but I'm just gonna check if there's any interfacing gear I can kit myself out with before I make that move. I think I had all the interfacing stuff already. Got the gloves. Yeah. I don't know if a nice pair of jeans would help with our interfacing potential. Okay.
Heavy wooden doors.
This is an 89%er. It's got to be easy.
Shut. There's nothing like the sound of a sticker unpeeling. Now it's stuck to your thumb.
Put the sticker on your ledger, right on the cover. We could toss it into the wind. I'm gonna put it on the ledger.
Voila. Looks very modern.
Now that's fun. Open the padlock.
The lock turns easily. You hear a click as the shackle pops open.
Let's go.
You're not gonna ask me how I got this key, Kim?
A great whoosh of air rushes into the dark innards of the church, as though rushing to fill a great vacuum.
Look, Kim, I've been on side quests. I've been side questing with the Revacholian youth while you've been absent.
In the heart of the city.
Okay, what are we gonna get into here? A strange stillness fills you as you look ahead. You should walk here, not run. Okay. Guess we'll take it easy. Grotesque wooden figure. It's half finished. Feels like it's trying to become one with the church. More of the forked lightning pattern. Okay. The blackboard is filled with complex equations. They look recent. The bowl is filled with water. A live wire runs directly into it.
The silence in this part of the church, it's almost palpable. All the shifting matter and shuffling of living things is gone. Nothing seems to exist beyond the church anymore. Maybe if you were to stand in just the right spot, even your footsteps would be completely silent.
Wait, I think I hear something.
And then it's gone. Almost all of it. But for the faintest of hums, it seems the sound here is detached from its source somehow, if not blotted out outright. Truly unusual.
So this is a turning point I'm interested to see, is like how much supernatural stuff is there, because like we've obviously engaged with the Pale, which is its own sort of supernatural existential whirlpool of doom for everyone. And then there's like the creatures, the mystery creatures, the cryptids. And I'm kind of curious, like, what are we gonna, like, how much does this like supernatural angle check out?
You can hardly hear your own breathing.
Let's give it a yell.
Your voice is barely audible. Not a howl, but the softest of whimpers. It's unnerving.
Let's stomp our feet.
You produce a few muffled thumps, after which the silence feels even more total, somehow.
Kim, what's going on here?
The lieutenant points to his ears and shakes his head. Then he leans closer.
Can you hear anything?
Not really, but it's extraordinary. I've never experienced anything like this.
I wonder why the church was built with such strange acoustics.
His detached tone conceals how uncomfortable he is.
I'm glad I'm sharing this moment with you, Kim. There's nothing like experiencing like a weird paranormal thing with a friend. Like, I think that if you experience something by yourself that's like kind of weird, it's not as impactful, obviously, because you're like, it's easy to doubt your own perception. But when you experience something with a friend and you're like, dude, what the fuck is going on here? Like, are you seeing or hearing or experiencing the same thing as me? And they're like, yeah. And neither of you can explain it. It's quite something. Whatever it is, it's definitely real. Something odd is happening around us.
The lieutenant doesn't reply, but you can sense him tense up next to you.
Okay, let's check out the bell tower.
The orderly rows of ceiling panels become barely visible, then disappear completely in the darkness of the tower overhead.
Ooh, it's a really bad perception skills. I mean, we've made 8%ers before. I think it'll give us another chance to check this out. Let's what if I don't want to know it's
The
up there?
silence, The darkness. They've enveloped you as in a cocoon. You cannot move anymore.
Let's peer into it. Ah, shit. The fuck is happening? I'm so glad I didn't come in here alone.
Darkness without end. It makes your head spin.
What's the darkness like?
Filled with vague shapes of woodwork. The sense of a great height.
Try to make out something, anything.
There's nothing. You're dizzy and disoriented as you see dark and more dark rising.
Officer, what are you looking at?
He follows your gaze, attempting to see whatever it is that you're seeing. Let's give our eyes a little fresh blankage. Oh shit!
You see something hanging from the rafters, looking straight at you with dark eyes. Maybe it's possible to talk to it.
Oh shit! Okay, let's gear up. What are we getting ourselves into here? It's a shadow person. I feel like logic could be pretty important here. Maybe we gotta fucking fight this thing. I don't know. Let's put some electrochemistry on. Our perception is pretty bad. Is there anything we can do for perception? Yes, we can. Oh no. It's a pair of glasses that'll make our perception worse. What is this doing for us? Logic? Maybe some encyclopedia could help us understand some cosmic connection, like, to this world's history. Anything else I can think of? What kind of... Okay, I got a lot of logic from... I feel like volition could help us out here. From getting too spooked by the spooky thing in the dark. Conceptualization. Let's pop it on. Look, I want to look nice and fresh and dapper for my new shadow friend. Probably don't need a lot of reaction speed. Electrochemistry, we're already getting that. Let's pop those jeans on. Look, jeans can be, you can dress up in jeans. What's our hat doing for us? Logic, perception. Our perception is pretty wrecked. Some empathy. Maybe we can make friends with this creature. Okay. Oh, some half-light. Half-light or electrochemistry? I feel like this is going to appeal to my deepest and darkest fears, so I'm going to pop that bad boy on. Oh, let's swap out the blue ones for the black jeans. We need some composure. Now I feel like I'm really stepping up my game here. And some perception boots. Fucking... Okay, now we're ready. Boom. All right. Wait. Hold on, Kim. Hold on, shadow friend. Let me redress myself before we engage. Watch me be totally wrong about what I need.
More like part of the carpentry of the building came alive and is now studying you intently. The Crab Man.
The Crab Man? Fuck, man. Did I already... I intentionally took my reaction speed off, didn't I? Are you the Crab Man?
The man leaned forward a little, fixing you with a steady, unreadable gaze, then speaks.
Habitual alcohol use has made you into a scared little pussy, Holmes. But don't worry, everything's gonna be all right. You come to the right place.
Okay, wasn't exactly expecting this as sort of a verbal posture. The right place for what?
Here you can receive the mother's love, and when you're ready, she will take your hand and lift you out of the despair at the bottom of that bottle.
This man is obviously a habitual narcotics user. Do we really need to question him?
I'm put off by this religious stuff, he thinks. And maybe The ceiling climbing, too. It's all very hard to square with the lieutenant's own view of reality. Hey, and what was that about the bottle again? You haven't even drank that much lately. Lay off it already. Shish.
Hey, electrochemistry is actually finally supporting our goals of being sober, it seems. I'm a policeman. I need to talk to you about police things. I don't know anything about alcohol use. Look, like I'm gonna fall in line with Kim's perspective here. Let's investigate this man like we are not unsure that we're actually hallucinating.
Oh, yeah, sure. You don't know anything about alcohol use. You got it all under control, Way.
That's right.
I could smell the control all the way over here.
I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Okay, I'm fine. I'm struggling, but you don't need to lecture me. You don't know me. You don't know what it's like. There's something white pursuing me, white and very sad. I'm doing just fine, thank you. Let's just stand our ground.
I know it's hard to admit that you got a problem. I was like you once. Couldn't take an honest look into my own heart and see I was in pain.
You know, actually, since we're here, you may want to pay attention to what the ceiling climber is saying.
All right, Kim. I hear you. I hear you.
Look at these crazies. What is this shit?
Right? Thank you. Thank you, electrochemistry. Thank you for validating my feeling of not wanting any fucking thing to do with this weird shit. Who do you think you are? Some crazy guy under the roof. What is this shit? Yeah. This is stupid. I don't even know what this is. We need to talk about the unlicensed occupation of ecclesiastic property. That is kind of what we came in here to do. I mean, we got to carry the flag for our boys in the tent on the ice. Let's follow electrochemistry's gut here. What is this shit?
It doesn't matter who I am, Way. I'm just bringing you the message of the mother's love. She don't want you to hang yourself on your own stubbornness.
His words echo in the cold air of the church.
This is the church of the Mother of Silence. You are welcome here.
He sways gently on the beams, waiting for you to take it all in.
You have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
That's true.
Is he just trying to throw you off your game?
I have no idea.
He's quite confident about it. Just look how gracefully he sways.
I'm not sure that his graceful swaying is enough for me to trust in his judgment, composure. Are you the crab man? Let's be firm here.
Never known myself to be a crab.
Definitely
But
the
if
crab
that's
man.
the name you got for me, I won't stop you from using it.
It's your neighbors who came up with this name, not me. If you're not a crab, then what are you?
I always thought of myself more like a flame, flickering along the rafters and beams.
Okay.
It may be that I gotta work on my technique.
What were you before you became a crab man?
I was in a gangway, but my memories of that time are fading. Most of them are already gone.
So many people losing their memory, a certain portent of doom. Okay, so that's appealing to the pale. Oh, which is so interesting. Like, imagine... So, if I were a therapist in this world, it would make my job very different, let's say, to know that, like, people's lapse in memory, lapse in judgment, and unspecific character personality traits, like that are not attributed to environmental, genetic, psychological factors. Like, how do you go with a diagnosis at that point? Like, when you see things that look like personality stuff. I'm thinking histrionic, bipolar, borderline, narcissistic, like those sort of extreme variants of personality. Borderline is often, a very like difficult history with attachments, very insecure and very intense attachments. And narcissistic, obviously, it's a critical level of low self-esteem to the point of extreme denial about oneself. Um, and then you have the histrionic, which is like really the type of person who really needs to be the center of the performance, which is just kind of where I get that flair from this guy. But when I would think about that, I'm like, okay, well, if you can't attribute these to natural factors, if something like the pale has extracted a part of this person's personality and like a symbiote to their own mind, they've tried to just latch on to like whatever vague piece of that is left and compensate, like you probably start to see more extreme variants of personality types because of that, and things that may look like schizophrenia or schizophreniform or schizoaffective or whatever, that are not the typical ways that we assess those things. This is super interesting to be a therapist in this world. I mean, it's pretty interesting to be one in our world. People are quite strange and fascinating enough already. But this would add an additional layer of intrigue, I think. I lost my memory too, but I like it. It's like I get to create a whole new me, start again from scratch. This actually appeals to me. Part of all of the work that we've been doing as Harry has been a identity deconstruction and reconstruction process, which is a very narrative therapy process. And we've been enjoying that, of recognizing but not always desiring integration with who we were before. There are some parts of us that we are actually happy to start new with, like our appearance. So I like this. I lost my memory too, but I like it. It's like I get to create a whole new me. Start again from scratch.
That's not really the point, I said. You gotta give yourself over to service. Service of the mother, that is.
I'm not sure if I gotta do that.
Do you remember your name, sir?
The lieutenant is not particularly interested in this information. He's just trying to assert some control over the conversation.
Tiago's my name, but those syllables don't mean much to me these days. A name isn't just your identity, but also, so to speak, your place amongst your fellows, your place in the world. I ain't got no use for such a place anymore.
My name's Harrier Dubois, and my place in the world is Lieutenant Double Yefrater. That's right. We've become very attached to who we are now.
That's just the thing, Holmes. None of that matters.
He sounds melancholy saying this, his limbs a mere shadow below the ceiling. Yeah, I imagine this makes it really hard to connect with people, because think about when you meet someone, the common ways that we learn about them are like, we start with, what's your name? Where are you from? What are the things, what is your job? What are the things that you like to do? Like, we start getting granular about these things. And that conversation usually flows because it's an equal exchange of information. I have a name. I have a place that I come from. I have things that I do. And we can share and discuss and relate to them. When you are trying to do that with someone who does not know who they are, does not have a real connection to their environment or their past, it makes it very hard to connect with them on the same level, which is making this particular exchange interesting. What are you doing here, crab man?
This is a special place. There's a perforation in the world up there. A way out into nothingness. This church was built around it for purposes of veneration.
Okay.
I circled it, nurtured by the silence bestowed by the mother. One of these days, I'd be pure enough to go drink from it directly.
Which makes a lot of sense as well, why someone who is lacking the primary contextual information that helps us understand who we are and where we are, that we tend to attach to these more mythological and spiritual ideas when you're working with someone who may have a schizophrenia or related diagnosis, that when the hallucinations or delusions are extreme, they're often of a religious nature. Like, people are often talking about possession by demons. They talk about special gifts that they have. They talk about like God's plan for them, and like that it's very specifically not like a generic plan, like God has a plan for all of us, but like for me, specifically for me. Because I think those mythological or spiritual or higher order ways of assigning meaning to the world are what we tend to latch onto when the smaller threads of context are missing, like when we can't trust our five senses, when there's a misfire between like, look, my brain cannot explain realistically why it's seeing something that I logically know isn't there, so it must be of a divine nature. It must be outside of what I understand to be reality, so to speak. Like, it must be an extra thing, which is kind of the vibe I get. The more vague, the better. Like the mother, it's demons. It's like, yeah, people talk about being possessed by demons and that sort of thing, which is really sad because like you really want to engage with them on that level. You don't just want to be like trying to pacify them and like, no, that thing's not real, because to them it is. So it's a very careful process of trying to work with someone like that. My approach has always been to be earnest, because I'm trying to build rapport with someone who, by the nature of their experience, lots of people will tell them, you're crazy, you're not seeing anything. And it makes it very hard to trust telling anybody about this stuff. And just for the record, lots of people with schizophrenia can be very high functioning. It's not always like the extreme picture that we think of. Someone who's like not able to control themselves or their thoughts, like that can obviously happen. But I'm always very earnest when I meet someone like that or I'm working with them. I'll ask the same kinds of questions that I normally ask. Like, I'll usually retreat into what I would consider to be universal values and experiences. Like, when someone's telling me that they were possessed by a demon, I will tell them like, what did it feel like to not be in control of yourself? That's like a universal thing. Like lots of people understand that feeling, right? What does it feel like to not understand your own thoughts? I feel that sometimes when I get anxious, right? Like focusing on these universal experiences like fear and mistrust and anxiety, you can find common language with someone who is using a set of understandings about the world that you do not share, which may be of like just a very like strange nature if you engaged with them from your perspective. Like, oh, what I'm hearing is strange. I just don't act like it's strange, and I focus on like, what can we immediately do about that? So it's interesting. It's a different kind of approach. Like, you have to use a very different tool set working with someone like that than, your like typical client, let's say. Who is this mother of silence you keep talking about? Let's see how this goes. I'm curious if the game is going to serve up a perfect example of what I'm talking about, as it often does, in terms of like why it is of a religious or mythological angle that people who are missing like attachment to the realistic world tend to gravitate towards those things.
Oh, that's no simple question, Ese. She is one who can be painted or sculpted.
There's usually this like lack of a burden of proof. Like, of course it can't be explained. That would defeat the purpose of like why I'm experiencing it and you can't.
She is a cavity in the dark beyond sense. She saved me, but I couldn't describe her to you. No one can, Holmes, and no one ever will.
What will happen once you drink from this perforation? So this is a kind of question that I might ask, for example, is I would just adopt their language and I wouldn't say this sarcastically. I would just follow the chain of, like, that's what you said, something can happen, so let's ask what can happen. Like, just express with curiosity and not judgment about what you're hearing. Like, what would happen if I drank from this perforation?
I will be incinerated, but not destroyed. Finally, I won with the state of the world before reality began.
For all I know, we could be the delusional one, and this guy could be bang on with what's going on in the world. It's not like we have any fucking clue.
That sounds a bit like substitution behavior, no? You know a thing or two about that.
You sure you didn't just switch one drug for another? This is a little too confrontational. We're still trying. We're trying to gather as much information about this individual's perspective as we can, so that he trusts us with divulging more. So we're going to continue to be curious and open-minded. How did you find this place, this church? Let's redirect to that.
Hard to say. I think I did some construction work here, back when I still had material worries. Up there, I realized what the true purpose of the church was.
As I say that we're going to be not so confrontational, I rewind the tape back to where we were like, Crab Man, you're the Crab Man. Like, the game is not always allowing us to be consistent.
Been spending a lot of time here ever since. The past is nothing to me now, eh? It didn't belong to me.
I don't understand what you're doing in this church.
I'm a seraph, Holmes. I sing the mother's glory.
Can you sing for me? Sing for me something.
I ain't from no Marietti, if that's what you're thinking. And the song I sing is silent as the mother.
He
Okay.
lost his cool there for a moment. Seems you hit some nerve.
Okay. You sure you didn't just switch one drug for another? Not in love with the phrasing of this, but I am curious about his response.
It's not like that at all, man. It's just faith and joyful service.
Faith is a kind of drug. Hey, not judging. I've got drug problems myself. I guess you have a point. Let's agree to disagree. If I think about my character, how much does the idea of faith and this, like, hierarchical, imperceptible, but omnipotent perspective over the world, like a faith-based deity kind of thing, appeal to us? Well, I would say that not very. When I think about how we have not been very interested in exploring politics, our resistance to that as a character, not talking about myself, as a character, I have my own reasons for wanting to resist it, but as a character, the reason we've been resisting it is because I guess we feel too small in the scale of the problem, like as Harry the detective, where we're like attaching ourselves to a particular ideology and a particular way of thinking and understanding the world, like would feel like we are trending this way in our understanding, like oh, I'm trying to narrow down the amount of information I'm gathering and critically evaluating by choosing an ideology, by choosing a deity, by choosing like a specific path, so that I can now start to exclude information that doesn't confirm the biases I'm developing, right? And I feel like Harry's path is more interested in branching this way. Like, we want to include. We want to be open to lots of things. And I think it's just our exposure to those political perspectives that, like, from the people we've gotten them from, that they've been like, believe in me, believe in this thing, like the moral intern, like you must be a moralist, my friend. Like, he's asking me to like narrow down, and we resist that. Like, I don't want to subscribe. Unsubscribe. Like, we're trying to let the newly defined parts of ourselves come from internal sources, not external. Like, it would feel like a confirmation bias to me to say, like, oh, well, I think I believe this, or I'm like this, and I'll wait around until I find the ideology that already confirms that, and I'll say, oh, there it is, that's the one that explains it. So I feel like that resistance coming from Harry is sort of part of that, and why he probably wouldn't be that interested in like a faith-based thing. Again, I'm talking about Harry, not myself. My reasons for avoiding politics is just because I'm tired of talking about it. That's it, really. The narrative reasons are actually way more interesting than my real life reasons. So yeah, it would make sense for me to be like kind of dismissive of faith in this sense as a outlet for escape from things that we do need to process internally, by saying faith is a kind of drug.
I heard that before, Way, and I know I can't convince you on the spot. But think, when's the last time you woke up from silent communion with a hangover, regretting what you did last night?
There are drugs darker than alcohol circling your system.
I think love might have been my drug of choice, and I think I'm still hungover from it. It's quite a poetic way of saying that, Harry.
She took you for a good spin, huh? Don't worry, bro. That love is but a drop compared to the ocean of the mother's love. The mother will eat all of you and never spit you out.
Hey, not judging. I've got drug problems myself.
I can see, and it saddens me. But devotion can save you. It saved me.
So he's also trying to appeal to universal values and experiences, which, like, I can sympathize with, right? Like, it's the appeal to salvation. Like, part of the grandiosity of like faith is, in my perspective, that there are so many things wrong with us internally, and our own human psychology feels like a black box sometimes that you can't just reach down in and tweak the knobs. Like, you have to do all these weird indirect ways of learning about yourself, and change is slow, and it's hard to be consistent with. And like, the idea that there is a higher perspective that can like save you from this is like certainly appealing, right? At the end of the day, if it's helping you get sober and happy, like, who am I to really judge the like intellectual value of that perspective? Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm interested in helping people. I want people to be happy and healthy and live good, long, fulfilling lives. And I don't have all the fucking answers, or I don't know how the world works, or what's out there cosmically. So I just, I can't sit on like a throne of my own prejudice and say, yes, this person is wrong for having this perspective, and these are the right ones. I think that's antithetical to psychology in general, which is very open-minded, at least the way I practice it, to different perspectives on the human experience. Okay, I'm rambling right now. I'm going to try to continue this because I just tend to get sidetracked. Okay, we're going to appeal. We're going to say, I guess you have a point. All of the shit that I just said out loud, I think points to the fact that, like, look, the guy has a point. We may not fully agree. We may not subscribe to the faith perspective in this playthrough, but It would be a mistake of mine to just be like, no, you're wrong because you're talking strangely to me.
I know it will take time. Don't sweat it. I know it will take time. Don't sweat it.
You really you wanted to give me emphasis on that one. Right, I had other
The
questions.
sinewy figure lingers on the wooden beams, blending into the shadows.
You've been here a long time. Do you know why the church was abandoned?
Police raid a while back.
He responds, his voice suddenly flat.
Did you witness it?
Not really. Or at least I don't remember much of it anymore. The mother's love has done its job. That's what's so great about the mother. It lets you forget about everything.
Yes, the sort of like vague but ultimate relief from pain and suffering. Some ravers want to turn this place into a nightclub.
The ones in the tent outside, right? I see them. Guessing they're the ones who call me a crab. Probably scared of me.
Crab man. White. Do they have a reason to be scared?
Nah, man. They look pretty funny. And I don't harm no one anymore. Anyway.
Well, do keep in mind that the children, the ones on the ice, they probably are coming in here on drugs. So like, their perception skills are also like amplifying the stress.
Though he used to, a long time ago.
I knew that bit of half light on my gloves would provide some meaningful context here. I trust you won't get in the way of some enterprising youth. Their business looks promising. Let's ask him what he thinks first before we go there. What do you think?
Why not? They wouldn't bother me none.
Let's go with it.
I'm usually way up there, imbibing. Ain't no music on earth that can reach where I go.
All right, guys. It's gonna be a crab rave.
Might even be nice to have some company.
Crab rave
He
in
said
the
that
church.
in spite of himself, he's more attached to the human than he'd like to think.
Interesting. Do you know where the other spooker is? Point at the strange machines. What is a spooker?
Other spooker? Oh, esa viejita es muy estudiosa. Don't know, Holmes.
Viaita is grandma?
Wait, so there is another person living in the church, and it's a viejita.
No. I just call her viejita because of her clothes. She's actually quite young. Or maybe not that young. Age is just one of the many masks we wear.
It's true. I like that. And you don't know where she is.
That's what I said, Holmes.
Oh, breakthrough imminent? Was that on this guy here? Maybe? How can you not know that when you both live here?
Don't really follow her comings and goings. Just see her typing on her computer now and then. We got different interests.
So you've got nothing else to tell me. How she looks, what she does, who is she?
I'm afraid not, Essay. You just have to wait until she comes back, or...
Or search through her radio computer.
Okay then, thanks. Okay,
Date of birth generator.
let's go.
You were born in the year 07, in the last year of the commune of Revachol, right before it fell, in the old military hospital on the ground floor, where people usually came to die during a snowstorm. The revolution had about 1 year left to go, and the fires were still burning bright. There were explosions in the blizzard. This was 44 years ago. You are 44 years old.
Okay.
The bloating might never leave your face, but beneath it, you still have some years. You still have some hope.
-1 difficulty to all physique passives. Okay, so we're old. Okay. But our logic cap is raised. What I love about this is that it's not like it raises my logic, it raises my cap, which is basically to say, like, with age, you are capable of being more mature and insightful, but it is not a guarantee. However, it is a guarantee that your physique will decline. I love this game. It's so weird. Okay, so we've got space for some other things here. Maybe we'll, let's see, what, do we want to keep any of this shit? Ace is high. Empathy towards Kim Kitsuragi, that's never getting taken off. Unless Kim does something, horrible to us. Bonuses, perception, okay. Saudi cop. Boring cop. Inland Empire. Okay, we'll take another look at this at some other time. All right, Crab Man. Thank you for your time and interesting commentary. I guess we're gonna poke around this church a little more before we figure out what to do next. Ooh, got a scarf. A pain protecting scarf, I like that. Okay. Colorful panes of glass. A spider has spun its web around this wood-carved pillar. Okay. Got some shoes over there. Let's check those boys out. Ooh, empathy shoes. Let's pop those on right now. Nice. I feel connected to my fellow man because of these loafers. They're not technically loafers. The pattern kind of reminds me of loafers. And some cash. Which connects me somewhat less to my fellow man. Okay, let's check out some of this equipment.
A machine stands in the corner, watched over by the figures on the stained glass window. It's turned on and quivering with soft electricity.
A radio computer. And it's turned on.
Oh.
These machines sometimes harbor traps, he thinks. Alarm systems and the like. Let's be careful.
Can we, like, let Kim do this instead of us?
We should leave. I doubt this place bears any connection to the case.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. Wait, let me just investigate it. Come on, Kim. Let's have some fun.
You see fluorescent play and print buttons on the keyboard. A hatch connected to the central compartment is wide open.
And what's the first thing that can happen? It's not like we're going to blow up.
The lieutenant says nothing. You see the machine's glowing frame reflected back from his diamond-shaped glasses. You're free to proceed.
Let's take a look inside that compartment.
Behind the hatch sits a cube-like crisscross of filaments, smoldering in the dark like fireflies. Silver tape on the side says, in black marker, log, February to March.
Let's blast whatever's ready to go on this thing.
Bar of fabric right above the keyboard starts producing a soft hum. The sound of static seeps through the machine's planar magnetic driver. Oh no, it was already glowing and now it's also making a sound? It's probably some alien CO-like technology. The static gets louder, slowly filling up the abandoned hall until a voice speaks out, crackling and old, cutting into the air.
Good morning, Fortress Accident on Sandbrun. This is the East Insulindian Repeater Station 1. Please repeat. Is this the personal log?
This must be the grandma that the gentleman on the rafters was talking about. What's the personal log?
The filament you have inserted into the core.
You mean that glowing thing with a tape on it that said log, February to March?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Is this the personal log?
Yes.
Good. Please repeat the password.
Let's look around. There's no use trying to guess the answer.
Okay.
Maybe he knows something.
Tiago. Password. I'm really bad at passwords. Can you give me a hint? Why not?
No.
Ah, fuck. Is it my birthday?
Still no.
Okay, I don't know the password. We're not gonna exert our authority here.
Received. I will register this login attempt.
That sounds bad. A login attempt. Something a criminal would do.
It does sound bad.
Votre accident. Is there anything else I can do for you today?
Okay, let's
Goodbye, votre accident.
The machine's keyboard is still illuminated.
Print.
Nothing happens.
Okay. We're gonna look around for that password. Tape recorder. Electrical current. Some tapes. Do you have the password, Crabman? Ooh, I like this. Oh, the sound design's so good.
Oh, hey, wait. There's coffee in the back. Oh, wait. I meant the mother's love.
Coffee in the back. Something familiar about that. Coffee and stale cookies.
Have you by any chance heard the Viejita say the password to her radio?
Too many times, essay. You need it for something.
Yes.
No need to overdo it. He won't mind sharing it with you.
No need to overdo it. Okay, we don't want to be too desperate. Yes, it's for a first-degree murder investigation in Martinaise.
The lieutenant raises his eyebrow. But
Ooh.
Don't sweat it, vato. The password is afterlife death. What you think of that? Makes me almost pity La Chiquita Pequeña when I hear it.
Okay. What's that about coffee?
Look, man, I'm at liberty to talk about the sacred blaze of the mother's glorious heart, but not about the coffee.
Okay.
I think we're done here, essay.
Oh, I guess he's...
That was an interesting conversation.
I
However,
concur.
I'm still not sure how it's relevant to our investigation.
Kim, when are you going to understand that it's all relevant? For as perceptive and understanding as you are of the human condition, although you don't always show it, you must know that all of this information about what's going on in these people's lives who live in this environment helps us understand, like when we go talk to a new person, how valid that information is. Like, the more we know about the Pale and what's going on between the factions and all of that stuff, like, it helps us sort of detect, like a detective, like, is the person who I'm talking to, maybe someone who is critical to the investigation, telling me the truth based on reality or based on hallucination or based on, like, absence of reality due to the Pale? It's all relevant, Kim. It's all relevant.
The machine's keyboard is still illuminated. The speaker comes to life.
Good morning, votre accident en Saint-Brun.
Let's try this again.
Good. Please
Afterlife
repeat
death.
good. I have unlocked the filament. After ending the call, please press print to access the filament.
Okay.
Votre accident. Is there anything else I can do for you today?
Let's check out that name, Fortress Accident.
The company on whose name the terminal you're currently using has been registered to.
Do you have any other information about this company?
One moment.
You hear her flip through a catalog before she reads out with studious care.
Fortress Accident SCN produces revolutionary interactive call-in radio games. That's what the catalog says.
Okay. What is an interactive call-in radio game?
Any other questions?
Oh, the static drowns out her response. Okay. Are you a machine or are you alive?
Yes, I am alive. I am 74 years old and my name is Yvonne.
Oh.
She repeats passwords. Programming people are paranoid.
Interesting comment by Kim here. It tells us something about his own worldview. Yvonne, my partner here tells me that you're here because radio computer guys are all paranoid. No, we can't dish on Kim just like that right in front of him. Okay, but where are you?
I work as a repeater at the East Insulindian repeater station. It's my job to know where you are, Fortress Accident. As for me, well, I am sitting in my cubicle, surrounded by a wall of radios.
On an island on the river Esperance, a small woman, all skin and bones, sits in a room filled with audio equipment. Thousands of tiny lights are reflected back from her prescription lenses, like stars in the dark. Doesn't it get lonely, sitting there all by herself?
Probably those empathetic shoes helped us pop this one off. Doesn't it get lonely doing this job?
Lonely? Why would it get lonely? I get to talk all day to people like you over a warm cup of tea.
Okay, guys. Maybe this is what Fritta Girl was meant to do. Maybe this is the natural cycle of progression for someone like Fritta Girl, who, maybe by the age of 74 finds a way to find gratitude in her life, though it may be simple.
That's why she does this.
Now, please tell me if there's anything else I can do for you, Fortress Accident.
Except Fritta Girl doesn't really like people. I think she does, but the people that she has to deal with are probably pretty annoying. So maybe she wouldn't get as much gratitude as our charming Yvonne would. But I love her. She's wonderful. I hope that she has a happy life. Okay. Thank you.
Goodbye, Fortress Accident.
The machine's keyboard is still illuminated, revealing fluorescent play and print buttons.
Yeah, I think it is nice that out of all the people in the world that we've encountered, from an existential therapy perspective, and that is like a classification of therapy as existential therapy, like for example, logotherapy from Viktor Frankl. And I would say that narrative therapy is something I practice a lot, is quite an existential approach. But when I think about like what gives people's lives meaning, and usually when I'm talking to people who have persistent or major depressive disorders, like that's usually the kind of conversation I'm looking to have, is like, if there is an absence of meaning, how can we maybe find it, right? Someone like Fritta Girl feels to me like there's an element of depression because there are not a lot of opportunities to find meaning, despite her extremely high potential to have it. She's smart, she has broad interests, and she's clearly tired and limited by her environment and the economics of her world to like really flourish in what she wants to do. It's like an environmental sort of factor in depression. Then you have people like the crab gentleman, Tiago, who is finding meaning in the spiritual realm. You have people like Joyce who find meaning through their role and responsibility at work, and this potentially what that role affords them in terms of ability to make meaning, what they feel like are meaningful changes in the world, like against the pale, for example, in her case. You have people like Everard, whose sense of meaning comes, it seems, from having a lot of influence over the place around you, and it's his way of asserting influence that we may find questionable at times. You have lots of people who find their sense of meaning in studying and discussing the political situation, like the Sunday Friend, for example. Again, we may not actually really like the way he finds meaning, but it is like where he finds purpose, right? And for us, it's partially being a detective, but it's also like learning to be a better person than we were before. And there is this like struggle, this like knot of like ability to find meaning and sources of meaning not always aligning for all of these characters. Like, we want to be a better person, but our inner demons often feel like they're limiting us. Everard wants to have a functional and peaceful society, but he potentially feels like the only way to get it is to be controlling. Fritta wants to be Fritta Girl, not Fritta itself, the corporation, but Fritta Girl wants, I'm assuming, wants to be like, you know, doing something more meaningful with her life, but like she just can't based on her situation. So there is this like compromise, it feels like. However, when I think of Ivan, this is like one of the first characters. I'm sure there's been others, but I haven't investigated him as much yet. But like, ask yourself why she's doing this. What's she hanging on for in this depressing world where everything is decaying and there's all this like hopelessness? And yet, like, she very like calmly and very immediately is able to say like, no, I'm not lonely. I get to talk to people like you and I get to enjoy my tea, and I found purpose in this simplicity, and no matter what, environment, economy, emotions, like where I'm getting my meaning from, is it's nice to connect with people, and that's always going to be available, potentially. Let's hope. Is that ability to connect. So it's just interesting. It's something I'm always listening for when I talk to people. Is like, okay, where do they find meaning? How do they define it? And what are the limiting factors in gaining it? Is it an environmental thing, or is it part of our own perspective? Are we perhaps capable of finding meaning that we have not looked in the right direction? That's stuff I'm always thinking about. So I appreciate that Yvonne is here in this rustic, secluded corner of the world, and that she's someone we got the chance to connect to. I think for us as the character, it gives us a little bit of hope as well. That like sometimes it's really simple. What gives you value is like maybe it's just a little part of what you get to do that makes you happy. When I feel like my life is getting stressful and complicated, I try to look to myself and say, am I overcomplicating things? And I often am. I just try to really dig down and be like, okay, but can I find gratitude in something very simple? And it often very, very strongly improves my mood. So thank you, Yvonne. Well, it's as good a time as any to pause after interesting conversation and a little bit of existential reflection. I guess next time we're going to explore what's in the back of this church, and let's see if we can progress whatever it is we're trying to do with the kids on the ice. All before we get back to the real detective work, according to Kim. But my little small bit of gratitude is that he's here to do these insane little side things with me. So thank you, Kim. I do appreciate you.